I am using tent sale worsted because that is what was really on sale, and it is basically the same as whatever this white is. I don't know what brand it is. I don't know what shade it is. It was given to me in a ball. I put it into a cake and it looks the same thickness as this blue, so that's what I am picking. That's how I do things. I'm super professional here. So I'm gonna have this dark blue is going to be my main color. This white, whatever brand it is, it's also worsted weight, but I don't know what brand it is going to be my accent color. And I'm going to use my 4.5mm hook. It got jammed in the door, got a gash on it, but that's okay. And I'm today going to do the sonic screwdriver. And I just sort of drew it up. It's not really a specific doctor's screwdriver. It's more like my version of some techie looking screwdriver. This sonic screwdriver, the chart size is the same width as my smaller squares, but then it's like taller. So I'm doing the interlocking crochet method, which I call locked filet mesh. And the reason I call it that was because I was scared of copyright issues. I like to start with a chainless technique, which isn't really chainless because it starts with chains. But it's not chaining a million and then counting back. So that's why it's chainless, is because you're making each window as you go. And it starts with 6 or possibly 7 if you are a really tight chainer, but I have 6. I count the little bumps on the back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to double crochet into that first one. That creates my first window, and it says on the pattern, if you have the pattern in front of you, to create 20 windows. You can get the pattern on my blog. I will put the link somewhere for you. And oops, I already did a mistake because I'm too busy talking. So 20 windows. The first one, you make a double crochet in there, then you chain 1, and then you have to do a treble or a triple depending on what you're reading. I don't know, I call them both because I'm never sure what's the right answer. And that makes it count as a chain on the bottom and then a double crochet. And then you chain 1, and you can see that I pinched because that's how I know where to go in. So I go through the first 2 loops. That counts as the chain 1 at the bottom. Then before I go through 2 loops, I pinch. And that's so I know where to go for my next. And you go across all the way as many trellises as you need. For this pattern, of course, I already said you only need 20. And I do have a video just on making this trellis part. It's like a minute long. I have my 20 windows, and I have 41 plus 2. I like to make the first square just, I feel like I don't chain that tight, but the first square I like to make a little bigger. So the way I have described this is that this is where the stitch marker would be. So it's to my left, and the tail of this one has to come through the right. Okay, this is how I think all of my patterns start. There might be, maybe there's one that doesn't. I'm not sure about that. I know there was a few that weren't going to, and then I changed them to make them easier, but I don't know if I changed them all. So now that it's through here, then that's how it's going to lay. Now we have to join them. So we're going to do a double crochet through this window. And we want it to be into the 7th chain from my hook because I did that plus 2. So I count these little bumps. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the back bump. Here's the V's. This is the 7th one on the back. I'm going to do that a little bit so that I know which one, when I pull it through here, and I know which one I'm going through. So I yarn over because it's a double crochet. I go through the back here, and I get that loop. And I'm going to bring it to the back, so I'm not getting my yarn through the blue. It just happens to be looped around it. Do you see? We chain 1, yarn over, go through that window again. This is the loop we use, so we're going to skip 1 and use this next one. This is how all of my patterns start. There's a tutorial on just this process, but I'm going to speed it up now and go all the way across. If you're lost, you can slow it down, or you can try my other tutorial. That's our foundation rose. The wrong side is facing us, that's why it has all these lines. The accent color is being put on the back, the working tail, and that loop. So now we are going to chain 3. You can chain 4 if you find that your piece is just, the tension's off, right? You got to do what works for you. 1 back. If you're new to this, that means you are working behind the white stuff. You're never going into the white. The blue is always going to go into the blue. It's just ignoring the white. Is the white going to be ignored in front, or is the white going to be ignored behind? And there's always, whenever you finish your double crochet, you chain 1. Then it has 17 in the front. So we're going to grab it and pull it to the front. That way we're not working in the white. We're going to ignore the white. I'm just going to get that there. And you can count them if you want, but we know that it just has 1 end stitch and 1 back, so we can pretty much go all the way across. And I think I do count pretty much every row, but I don't always count when I'm doing this. I would get to the end, count them again just to be sure, even though it's not that hard to find 1. I've had too many mistakes. You might think I don't because I'm designing all these cool things, but really I make a lot of mistakes. So that's just going to go all the way across. I don't like this, it's making noise, but oh well, maybe long is better. Although maybe you can hear my husband's noise upstairs, I'm not sure. I'm not changing it, so maybe you get to hear his show. I feel like it's been a long time since I've done a video for you guys, and I don't make any money on my YouTube channel, but maybe someday I could. Maybe someday I'll be like Bag a Day Crochet and I'll just give away yarn. And she has like, I think it was like 4,000 people watched her video in the first 15 minutes of it being on. I'm like, yeah, that's the way to do it. She's got it down pat. So maybe I can be cool like her someday. For now, I'm just gonna be cool like me. So this is, our end stitch goes into here, which means this one has to be in the back. So we're going behind the white. Still going to do double, and then I just go in the window. You could find the chain 2 if you wanted to, but it feels like a waste of time to me. Make a big loop so you don't pull it apart, because we're going to ignore that stitch marker. Have you seen that meme? It's like the old lady from Downton Abbey, and she's like, I too like to live dangerously. I see you don't use stitch markers. She doesn't have that voice because it's a typed picture. I don't do good at the voices. Never mind. You know what? This is what happens when there's no one sitting across from me to say, Ashley, you're being weird. You just get to hear all the weird. Alright, we're on row 5. Chain 3. in the back. It's just reminding you that that's where your yarn is. So this is, you're already in the back. You can't change it without pulling it apart. So if it matters to you, which some people don't, they change it up, the edge lines. They do front, back, and make the project their own. That's fine. But if you wanted to actually do it how it's written, this is in the back. Then it has 8 in the back, so we're gonna grab that, pull it to the back. White is always working into the white. We're going right into the double crochet stitches. We're not using those chains. The chains are just gaps. And I do actually need to count, so I need to stop talking and count. Let's see, this was the end stitch, the chain 3 in back. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have 1 in the front. So we're gonna grab that yarn and pull it to the front here and finish our double crochet. And then 9 in the back. It just goes all the way to the end, but I'm gonna count them anyways because I get concerned that I might have missed a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the last stitch says end in the back, which means we have to bring the corner, this loop, into the back. I plan on doing a little video for all the Doctor Who squares that I've made, and I'm curious which one you want me to do next. No guarantees on when I'll actually get it done, but at least I'll know what I'm working towards, right? Now, this is the right side. So these tails, we have to bring them facing us, but I want to not tangle with my blue. So I'm just going to put it under like that. Bring my blue on top. Now we're still not tangled. The tail and the working, everything is in the front. Then our blue, so we're going to go chain 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 stitch in the front. So we got to find our loop and bring it to the front. Not loop, stitch, I guess. And then 8 in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 in the front. So we're gonna bring that one into the front. 1, 2, 7 in the back. 1, oops, missed it. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and another stitch in the front. That's making our little border lines and our end stitched. And I'm going to pull it, oopsies, that's the cord, there we go. Pull it so we don't unravel. Move my mouse so that I know which line I'm working on. And we get to our white. Now be careful when you are pulling this. I have done it before where I think my hook is in there and I pull, but my hook's not in there, and then you undo your stitch. That's not fun. We're going to chain 3. It's telling you it's in the front. Your yarn is already in the front. So it's just a double check to make sure that you're on the right track. You know, 1, 2, 3, oops, my yarn came out, sorry, I'm gonna try again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're going to put 3 in the back. If I can finish that stitch, there we go. So I'm going to go through the window, pull it behind. 1, 2, make sure you're going through both of the loops that are on the top, that V of the double crochet. Then 7 in the front. I have done it, sometimes you try to get 2 in the same stitch, then you're going to be adding stitches, so make sure you're paying attention. 1, 2, 3. I wound up this cake, it's a bit too tight for my attention, I don't like it. 4, 5, 6, 7 in the front, and our end stitch is going to be in the front as well here. I find that square, make a big loop. Now we're on the wrong side. Accent color is in the back. Taking our blue, we're going to chain 3. I'm going to do 1 in the back, try to find that loop. There we go. Then 6 in the front. So you'll notice the front and the back, it doesn't matter which the right side and the wrong side. Front always means what you can see. Four, 5, 6, and 4 in the back. Make sure you go through the right window. You can always count them. If you've done 6 stitches here, they have to line up with the windows at the back, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back, 7 in the front. I like these short rows. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing things really quick. Although if I am crocheting too quickly for you, you can slow the video down. And of course, the pattern is written and it's visual here. So once you get the technique down, you may not need the video as much anymore. I don't really anticipate everyone needing to watch the whole video, but I wanted to make a whole video in case there is somebody who needs it. And because I want to pay more attention to my YouTube channel. And 1 in the back and stitch. There we go. I'll get to our white. I have to move my mouse again so my computer doesn't fall asleep. I'm going to chain 3 in the back. Just make sure it's the right tension there. 1, 2, 3. Then it says 6 in the back, so make sure we're going in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've kept all the yarn behind the blue. That's why it's in the back. Then 5 in the front. So I'm going to put this in front of that blue, but not going into that blue. Maybe that's a redundant thing for me to keep saying. It just seems that some people have a hard time. The stitch is very strange. It's not like some people have never seen this sort of thing before, so I just like to talkity talk, I guess. 5 in the front, then 7 in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, come on little, there we go, 7. 7 in the back, and then the end stitch is in the back as well, so we've got to find that little corner. And then we go back to our loop here. There we go. We are on row 10 already. Aren't you feeling impressed? We're going to chain 3, 1 in the front, 6 in the back. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the back, and then we get 6 in the front. And because this is the right side, you can sort of see that this is looking pretty nice. The lines are all straight. That tells you it's the right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 in the front. That's to make our nice border lines that locks in the edges as well. That's the purpose of those border lines, to keep our interlocking squares stuck together all the way along the edges. And back to our white. Oops, my arms are getting too crazy here. Chain 3. Uh-oh. Chain 3 in front. That is a problem. Did you see what I had done? I didn't move it to the right side. So there are a few options. We can take apart our row, we can leave it, we can cut it. I didn't do it on purpose. I wish I could pretend that I did that on purpose to show you what to do, but honestly, I'm just going to cut it. So this is how, if I was changing colors, like let's say I wanted my next color to be something else, this is how I would do it. I would tie off one and make a slip knot, put it in that hole, keep going like nothing ever happened. You have to weave in the tails, but that's how I do it. So now I've got 2, 3, and I keep going. Now we're on row 11, chain 3 in front, then we go 7 in front. That's all. Not the end of the world, especially if you had a blanket with like 300 stitches across. I definitely wouldn't be pulling the row apart. And I really don't have that much time because my babies only sleep so long for these videos, so that's why I just cut it. I just have a little extra knot as opposed to taking apart the row and doing it again. It's not that bad. You could have left it too, it's up to you. Although maybe you didn't do that mistake. If you were following me, I'm going to put a big note on the video saying, don't do this. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go, 7. Then we have 5 in the back. Now, these squares that I plan on making are all interlocking because I find it is easier to join the squares without worrying about the tails. But I was thinking I might show you some of them in mosaic, and I can show you various techniques like how to not have tails. So that'll be something to keep an eye out. You can subscribe to my channel, and whenever I get to those videos, you'll get a notification because I have no idea when I'm going to get to them. But now we're doing 6 in the front. So that's 1, this is 2, 3, 4, oops, there we go, 4, 5, 6, and then end front is our stitch here. And now we are on row 12. It says accent color in the back, so this time I'm paying more attention. I'm going to keep my accent color in the back. So we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Go 1 in the back, 5 in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the front. Then we have 6 in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oopsies, try again. 5, 6 in the back. Then we have 6 in the front as well. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the front, 1 in the back, and don't forget your end stitch goes in that, create your corner. Now if you have the actual file that you downloaded from, say, my Facebook group, we are on page 3 now. Isn't that exciting? The first page was telling you, hey, here's my pattern. I drew it up all by myself, and it's not really anybody else's screwdriver, but we're pretending it's for the doctor. Then the second page is the key, and the beginning, the foundation rows. And now third page starts at row 13. Chain 3 in back. Good thing I got my yarn in the right place this time. Then we have 6 in the back. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 5 in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, oopsies, there we go, 5. Then 7 in the back and end in the back. So you don't really need to count it, but I always do, just because I've made too many mistakes, and that's my double checking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and an end stitch in the back here. I was planning on finishing my musical today. I am not really, I don't think I could finish it, but I am working on it, so that was the plan. But then all the kids were sleeping. Usually my littlest, she stays awake so late. She naps in the day and then she stays up so late, and I just crochet while she plays. So this time, since there was no baby in the way, I thought, oh, I better do a video quick. So my musical will have to wait. 3. Then we got 1 in the front. 6 in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you're only watching this video because you don't really like Doctor Who, but you need me to make videos of different patterns for you to do them with me. And in that case, you could suggest a non-Doctor Who pattern. But again, no guarantees, okay? But you can always ask. Nothing wrong with asking. We're now doing 3 of 6 stitches in the front, okay? It's on the screen, but I like to say it out loud too, just in case. So this is stitch 5 and 6 in the front. Then 5 in the back. Now it does get, you want to make sure you're not getting those holes mixed up, okay? So this one is just in the back here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1 in the front. That gives us our nice border edge, and an end stitch. Anyways, moving on. Chain 3 in front, then 7 stitches in the front. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I like how it's making this little pocket here. I always wish I had something to put in there. Don't you feel like something belongs in there? Maybe like a note? I don't know. Just, it's such a cute little pocket. And look, here's another one. And we're going to go 5 in the back. I'm going to find her behind the blue. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 in the front. It's pretty easy so far, all of these big chunks. Just building up the base, and we're gonna just keep going back and forth. I hope you're not getting bored of it. It's just a lot of counting. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, and then our end in the front. Find that loop. And grab our blue loop. Stuck on something? Oh, only on my finger. There we go. Now it says row 16, wrong side, accent color in the back. Okay. Chain 3, 1 in the back. Make sure those tails are staying on the outside. You don't want to crochet over them. Well, by this time, I'm sure you would have noticed that that's a problem. 5 in the front. Then 6 in the back. So we're going to make sure that that loop stays behind the white. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 in the front. I'm actually not even finished watching all the Doctor Who. I have watched the new Who up to, I'm watching right now, Jodie Whittaker, her series. I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. I do miss Matt Smith. I don't know. Capaldi never grew on me that well. So I kind of miss from a long time ago. Although I can't decide which is my favorite of the first 3 Doctors that I watched. Then 1 in the back. end stitch. And I've only really watched one episode of an old Doctor Who. It was on YouTube for a little while, or I mean not on YouTube, Netflix. And then they took it off. So I watched one old episode and then it was gone, and I don't know how to get it. That's probably, I think you can hear my husband making noises. He's actually upstairs cleaning, but because of the way the house is, you can kind of hear it. There's not much dividing me from him. So we're doing 6 in the back. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, I missed again. My hands feel clammy. It's one of our warm days. Canada is crazy. I'm sure you know that our weather is always an issue. Hot, cold. So literally last weekend it was snow. And today it's like plus 25 right now. It's 10 p.m. and it's still that hot. So it rained a little and not enough to cool anything down. But that is our 6. I think that was 6. I better count, okay? So this was our chain 3 in back. Then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the back. Then 5 in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 in the back. So we gotta get that blue out the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and end in the back. Big loop. That's so I don't have to use my stitch marker. Turn it over. Now we are on row 18. It says accent color front. I don't want to make that mistake again, so I'm being very careful. And chain 3 and 1 in the front. That's our nice edge line again. 6 in the back, okay. Oops, go in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 in the front as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to do 5 in the back. I wish I could have a commercial break that was like sponsored by, and I'd tell you all about this company that gave me money to make a video. But nobody gives me money to make these videos. Pfft, lame. I just do them because I'm silly. I feel a little bit famous. I'm sure you know, I got published in a magazine, which was pretty cool. And people joining my Facebook group and my Ravelry group, follow me on Instagram. People buy my patterns. It's crazy to me. So I feel famous. Why not make a YouTube video and be more famous? There's our end stitch. Go back to our white. I wonder what colors you guys are using. Did you find the perfect yarn for Doctor Who? Is there a perfect like TARDIS blue out there? It helps that the TARDIS keeps changing colors. If you look at the old Doctor Who's, some of them are different. So 7 in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the front. Here we go. Then 5 in the back. 1, 2, 3. Don't forget your chain. I guess by now it's a bit late to remind you of that. Sorry. Then 6 in the front again. 1, 2. Never watched The Count. Is he on Sesame Street? 3. 4. Okay. You can tell I'm getting a little bored with these, hey? Just a little repetitive to me. I do like a more intricate pattern. I really want to see the finished work, but sometimes I'm like, okay, it's the same over and over. 5, 6, 7, 7, 6, 5. And in the front. Hopefully I haven't confused you too much with my babbly googly goo. We are on row 20. We're looking at the wrong side. And I should probably not admit this, but for you it has been like 2 seconds since we did row 19. For me it has been 11 months. This has been on my phone taking up space, and I just have not gotten back to doing this. So it is weird for me to be picking this project up again, but we're going to go with it. I know that these rows have all been pretty much the same, but to be thorough, I'm just going to keep doing them all. We're about to get it changed soon. So if you're ready, I'm ready. We're going to do our chain 3. This accent color is in the back and it's out of the way. And we're going to make sure we're not picking that. And we're going to grab this one and pull it to the back. Oh, we're actually going to pull it to the back. Here we go. And then 5 in the front. I'm just going to tighten this because that ticking bothers me. And yeah, I cannot believe that this little square has taken me so long. It's not even a square, right? It's like a rectangle, but if you're counting with me, I have the words on the screen, and of course you can print off the PDF if you like, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the front. Then we're going to do 6 in the back. And this is pretty much the same that we've been doing row after row because, you know, we're making a screwdriver and it's very long. And you could adjust that if you want, but it's going to ruin the picture and then it's not going to match the sizes of all the other Doctor Who patterns. So just trust me on this one, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our 6th one here. And then we have 6 in the front. Make sure that you're always getting the right stitch. 1, 2, yep. 3, 4, 5, 6. Our final one goes in the back. That's for those pretty border lines. They're not just pretty, they also function. They hold the 2 layers together. So there we go. Grab your stitch, pull it to the back. And don't forget your end stitch, because then your count will be off. There we go. And I don't know what I was doing before, but this time I'm just going to set my stitch marker aside and I'm not going to put it back in for a while. It saves me like 10 seconds per row. I don't know. Doesn't save too much per row, but every little bit counts, right? Okay, so we're on row 21, and this is the first row that is different. It's not different on the edges. They still have that chain 3 in the back, but then every stitch is a back stitch. And it seems easy, but what commonly happens is that when you get here, these stitches lean and it's hard to get them in the right window. So that's the tricky part. They're all in the back, so you don't necessarily have to count, although it does help you to make sure you don't miss a stitch. Just when you get to the spot where the colors are woven between each other, just make sure you have the right window. So because we're pulling on it like this, it's easy for this one to feel like he belongs here, but he actually doesn't. If you line everything back up, this guy has to go through that window here. So that is my helpful tip and trick. Basically, don't pull things around, otherwise you have to pull it apart. So we're still doing back stitches, but of course now we have to bring the white to the back. And it is easier to remember where everything belongs if you lay it out sometimes and just give it a bit of a stretch. That way you know which side to put everything. Same with here, you want to make sure that this final thing has to be on, when you're looking at it this way, the final stitch goes over here on this side of the blue. And these tails, of course, we know that they're keeping everything locked in there, so they just go on the front. Row 22, chain 3, 1 in the front, and then we're back to our regular 6 in the back, getting that shape of, it's not really a screwdriver, but it's a sonic screwdriver, so you have to know the difference, right? And maybe you're crocheting for someone else who likes Doctor Who and you don't know anything about Doctor Who. Sonic screwdriver is really just like an electronic doohickey that the Doctor creates, and it does magic. It doesn't actually do magic, it does science. But essentially it's magic, because it's like anything that they need has suddenly, that thing can do it. It's like lazy writing or something, I don't know. Script writing, they just have some magic wand, right? This is a sonic screwdriver. No magic involved, but if you're reading with me the pattern, we're going to do 6 in the front now. It's basically following the whole sides here. It's the same. It's easy to look at the cues that you get from the visual as opposed to always counting. But counting is good too. I like counting. Then we have 5 in the back. And our stitch that holds everything together, locking those layers, goes in the front. And the end stitch goes in that final window. Got a little loop here. If you pull tight, that loop will be really hard to undo, but if you don't pull too tight, he's just looped around. He's not a real knot. So we are now going to do row 23. And this one, chain 3 in the front, then 6 in the front. And you can see that it doesn't go all the way. It's only 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're doing 7 in the back. So that's this one here. we're widening it. And it's easy to keep this whole thing kind of flipped up out of the way. 3, 4, oopsie, there we go, 5, 6, and that 7th one is again a little bit wider than the screwdriver has been so far, which leaves us 5 in the front. And that final window is also in the front. Now, I might have mentioned it before, but if I'm going too fast, you can slow the video down. YouTube has fun controls like that. It makes my voice sound slower too, but that's okay. Maybe if you watch a video later, you'll forget that my voice actually sounds different. So now we're looking at the wrong side again. We start with our chain 3. Our first stitch is in the back because, of course, we're locking the layers together. Our accent color tail is in the back because that's how all of the rows are. Make sure you're chaining between the stitches. We then have 5 in the front. So we're sticking with the wider screwdriver now. Then we have 1 in the back. And then 4 in the front. So again, you want to make sure that these windows are lined up and getting counted properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is a symmetrical screwdriver, so 1 in the back again. And then we have 6 in the front on this side. So it's a symmetrical screwdriver, but it's not fully in the middle. It actually has 1 extra stitch on one side. Do you hate me for that? I know people are all about symmetry, and I could have made this symmetrical if I adjusted the background color to be like darker versus lighter. But this is how I drew it up, and now this is the way we got to do it, right? So what I mean is this square on the bottom, there's this many windows and this many windows. If I had made this blue, then you wouldn't see all these lines here. It would just be blue, white, blue, and all of this would be blue, and this thing could be white. Then I could move it over, but this way we have it blue on the outside. That means that it's either going to be 1 stitch this direction or 1 stitch that direction. So that's how the charts work, and I don't know if you really care about that. That's probably just going to get edited out. I don't know. Row 25. Chain 3 in the back. And then 7 stitches in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we have 1 in the front here, 1 in the back, 1 in the front again, and then everything else is going to be in the back, but it's actually 8 stitches because it's not actually right in the middle. the chart size was predetermined based on my other chart sizes so that they can be joined together. And that's just how it works out. So we're going to flip our work again. I had to move my mouse. We're on row 26. This white has to come in front again. And the blue is our main color, so chain 3, 1 in the front, then 6 in the back. One in the front. Again, this is where you're going to want to make sure things are lined up properly. It goes right on here. So 1 in the front, 4 in the back. And it sometimes feels harder to get these ones because you have to peek into the window and then pull it back out of the window. Then another one in the front. It goes right on that outer edge line. You can see that we've just created like a stick. It sticks out a bit. Then we're back to the back stitches. There are 7 if you want to count them. Or sorry, 5. I was looking at the wrong line. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 in the back. There we go. Then 1 more in the front. That locks it in. Make sure you're going into that stitch. Bring it back. And don't forget your end stitch. Row 27 says chain 3 in the front. And of course we're already in the front, so that's the double check. Then we have 8 stitches in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then when we do a little back, front, back, it's easy to remember, for me anyway. And then they're all in the front again. This time is 7 in the front. That's the number I was reading last row. Thought I was doing 7, but there was only 5, you know. I don't want to say things and confuse people. Stop babbling. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that end stitch goes here. We are back to the wrong side, row 28. We're going to chain 3, put 1 in the back, make sure you don't tangle into these tails. Then we have 5 in the front, 1 in the back, 4 in the front, 1 in the back, and 6 in the front. One in the back again, and the end stitch on the side. Row 29 here. Make sure you get the loop. The chain 3 is in the back. Then the next stitch here starts our 7 stitches in the back. And then we have that front back front again. Just putting a little detail into the screwdriver. And 8 in the back. Oops, my yarn split there. When you get to that final stitch in the back, make sure you are straightening everything out because you know it needs to be on the outer edge. It's the outer edge of the white. It's 1 stitch in from the blue, of course. So we are on row 30. That accent color tails, they have to come to the front. The blue main color, we're going to chain 3. And the first stitch goes in the front. So it is covering up that white. Then we have 6 in the back. One in the front, it's the one that's lining up with this. 4 in the back. It's a little bit repetitive, right? I know that that was pretty much what we just did. But we're going to do it anyways. Or maybe you have a poor memory and you don't remember that that was what we just did. That's okay too. 1 in the front, again, it lines up with this. 5 in the back, because that's all we have left on this side before we lock everything back in. That stitch goes in front. Oops, yarn over, of course. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. And don't forget your end stitch right in that window, or right in the second chain if you really want to be specific, if that bothers you. Chain 3 in front. We are already in the front, so we know that's okay. Then we have 8 in the front. Oopsies, silly stitch. There we go. That is actually one of my common mistakes, is missing the end of my stitch. I don't know if you saw what I had done there. Instead of pulling through both, I get ahead of myself and I sometimes only pull through one. And then when I go to chain again, it gives me this weird thing. And yeah, it's just annoying. I think I just go too fast for myself sometimes because I always just want to crochet faster. But that is what I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is 6, 7. And the 8th one is inside. Then we have our back, front, back. You can see we're making these little dashes that just give the screwdriver some imagery. I don't know. I don't even know what it necessarily has to represent because, like I said at the beginning, I just drew this as like a conceptual screwdriver. It's not actually based on an actual doctor's screwdriver because they all had different screwdrivers and they're all very cool, but the details on them is not something I can get into a chart this size and still have it visible. So I just sort of made a thingy-dooey. A screwdriver-ish. I guess if I was the doctor, my screwdriver would look like this. That final one, of course, you gotta make sure everything's lined up. We are on row 32. Oops, there we go. Chain 3, put 1 in the back. Make sure all these tails are in the back but out of the way, so you don't want to get them stuck. Then you have to pull your stuff apart to get them out. 5 in the front. This is basically what we did last time, so I know it gets a bit repetitive. There are timestamps in the comments if you wanted to skip around and go to where you need to go, but I wanted to be thorough in case you're just sort of crocheting as I go, and then if I was to skip some rows because they're the same as last row and you were just watching the video, you wouldn't know. So that's why I did it that way. So we did our 5 in the front, 1 in the back, then 4 in the front, and it's a mirror image, so it's another 1 in the back, and everything else is in the front. It's 6 this time, so we can count them if we want. Otherwise, you can just go. Then we get to that border that's locked in, so we know that one goes in the back. And the end stitch. Row 33, we'll start with our chain 3 in the back. And then the next stitch is here. We're going to do 7 in the back. Make sure everything is lined up. So that 7th one has to be on the other side. Then we have front, back, front. So it's following that line. Another line on the other side, and then the line back on this side. And then the other ones are in the back, but still make sure that the windows are being lined up properly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the back, and then our final end stitch is also in the back. Of course, you want to make sure that all of these windows are lined up. There we go. These tails and everything have to come back to the front. We're on row 34, chain 3, 1 in the front, 6 in the back. The stitch in the front is lining up here. And we're going to put 4 in the back. You're used to this, you've done it before. That stitch over here is lining up with this one as well. The rest of these ones are 5 in the back before we get to the end. So that one in the front to lock these things in. The end stitch in the window. Make it a little bigger just in case I tug on it accidentally. I don't want to lose my stitches. Row 35, we're starting with the chain 3 in front. Then we have 8 front stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that 8th one is inside the screwdriver, just like last time. Then we have our fun little back, front, back. And then 7 in the front. Our end stitch, of course, is in the front, lines up with everything we've been doing, and that's the end of that. Row 36, keep those tails out of the way, the white ones. Chain 3, 1 in the back. 5 in the front. we're doing, this is just the same as before, 1 in the back, it lines up with that stitch, and then 4 in the front. One in the back to line up with that, and 6 this time, 6 in the front. Oops, well, my yarn's doing weird things. Well, it's probably me and the hook, but we'll blame it on the yarn. Then 1 in the back, and our end stitch right in that final window. Row 37 is pretty much the same that we've been doing. I'm sorry if you find it boring. It's just the way it goes. 7, I'm feeling pretty sleepy today, so I don't have as much chatting as normal. I hope that's okay with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So remember, the 6th stitch is on this side of that blue line, and 7 has to be on the other side. And then we have our fun little front, back, front. Everything lines up so nicely. It tells you that you're doing a good job if you've got all your lines matching. And I know some people, they don't even bother frogging. They just go, oh, well, I made a mistake. Keep going. I would definitely pull things apart because I like the picture, but you don't have to. And all these stitches on the other side here are all in the back again. Of course, you make sure that they're on the right sides. You count them if you like. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That end one goes in that final window. Row 38. So we're going to chain 3, it's on the edge. I'll first stitch in front to lock everything down just like you've been doing. Nothing new here. And then just like you did for like how many rows? We're going to do 6 in the back. The other reason I thought I'd tape it all is because I have to crochet the whole square anyways. So it doesn't really make sense to me to say, okay, I'm going to turn off my camera and crochet. You can just skip it if you don't want to watch it. And you're like, I know how to do that. Let's move ahead. Just go to those timestamps. Click, 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 click. Somebody might want to watch it, so that's why it's available. Putting 1 in the front and 4 in the back, just like we did like all of these rows. They're all the same. But it will change again, the design on the screwdriver. It does not go like this for the whole rest of the square. It just does it for a little while. One in the front that lines up again. And the other one's 5 in the back, because that's how many stitches we have left before we get to our border. One in the front, and our end stitch on the side.